What? Where's Chelsea? Oh.
Is that true for you?
You have
Oh, yeah.
hard time
You
keeping
call me
track
at
of
like
what
3
day it is.
Hey, is it?
But I did,
No.
Yvonne, I didn't go down here last night for the meeting.
Several mistakes lately. I never seen it. Live and let's get started. The meeting is officially started. And the first thing, roll call.
Yeah. So we have Scott Austin, Rose Bricker, Chelsea Starner, I'm Starling for some reason, was on the tip of my tongue. Yvonne McMillan, Tyler Pellet, and Larry Sleeman. And our guest, Jessica, not Amanda.
Okay, good. Do we have approval of minutes? Has everybody had a chance to look at them? Okay, look good.
I didn't ask for one. But
Chair.
Yeah, we need a motion to approve minutes.
Discussion over there about changing minutes or not.
No, no, okay.
No, just looking at the minute.
I'll move to approve the minutes of October 3rd.
I'll second.
Okay. Minutes are approved.
Oh, vote first.
Oh, we vote. Yeah, okay.
Not
All
the same.
voting to approve the minutes.
Right.
Aye. Okay. Business. Okay, I think that's where we turn the time over to Chelsea.
Yes, so looks like we have music and planning. I did include a staff report. It does seem early. That is because it is. Last year we decided to kind of push the process back a little bit because we did hear a number of bands saying by the time we notified them, we had some date conflicts. So this is earlier this year. And I have a list of tasks to review and kind of questions to answer. So I was just hoping that we could go through those. And then at the end, if there's anything additional that you all would like to discuss at this point in the planning process, we don't have to plan out the whole thing at this point. We'll talk about those things as well. So the first is band selection. So I've moved it back a month. Applications due by January 16th, and board make recommendations at the February 6th meeting. I will send everything out to everyone so that you can review it a little bit, right after January 16th. I did ask this year on the application, I've looked at some other applications for other similar events, and most of them require that you have a link to a live performance.
That you have.
A link to a live performance. So in the past, we've had some issues with the sound bites that are submitted, the formats that are submitted in. So this really is kind of putting it more on an even playing field. Send a link to a live performance. It doesn't say that it has to be with an audience, but it just is it gives you the ability. I mean, someone could literally, if they're a new person who hasn't done a performance, just do it with your phone. But get it some way that you can all kind of see how they perform, hear their music on an even and they have the option to put social media links, website, all those things too, so that you have additional things. But I think
I remember last year there was a couple of them I couldn't
right
connect with.
right. So kind of trying to make it clear that we need to have something that everyone can access and hear. So how does everyone feel about the timeline? Does that?
How did you land on January 16th?
I think it was really just moving it. I think it was around for mid-month for February last year.
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
And if we pushed it till the end of January, that wouldn't give us enough time to review the
No,
different bands until the 6th.
yeah, I think that's the issue. And I think in the past we've left it open for a month. It is kind of a short
It's real quick.
time.
So you're saying that
A year.
they're due on the 16th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that date can't, I mean, this is your process. If you want to push that a little, we do need to make determinations at that February 6th meeting.
Right.
So if you want to push that out and feel like you can all have time to listen, it's just last year we had a lot of applications and
Yeah.
it's a lot.
It's hard to get through.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay. If we are finding that we're not getting anyone and we're feeling, then I can reach out to you all and have a separate conversation about that. I mean, we can push the decision making until March. It just seemed like we did get quite a bit of feedback and we're gonna try it this way. So we'll go forward. I actually have the application as already made. I just have to put a link to it up on the website. So we'll do that tomorrow.
What website?
The city's website.
Where bands will go to apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a fillable form on the website.
And I'm sorry, are there flyers?
There will be. So I've already started those as well. So I'll reach out to you all when I get flyers and see if anyone has the ability to put some up and help out with distributing. Should have that done by the end of this week.
I can help with that since I do it every month anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you need me to compile the list of all the bands like we did, I can help with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so band compensation, this has come up actually the last 2 years. We've had some discussion about this in one way or another. We are currently compensating $200 per band. So what I have found in just looking at other cities that do this is that most of them on the application ask the band how much they expect to be compensated. I did talk to a couple cities to ask, well, what does that mean to you? What are you ending up paying? A lot more than we are paying. So, I had a discussion with the city manager about like how this started and what the purpose of this particular music in the park is. And so far it's really been to try to kind of allow people that might not have the opportunity to play somewhere else, might not get in, in some of like the Corvallis groups that do music. And so we've had a few people ask about it and say that it is low. Usually those are larger bands. So I think most bands that apply understand they're not doing it just because we're on the circuit to book a bunch of gigs and make a lot of money. These are usually groups that are local, fairly local, understand what we're doing here, and have been okay with it. But the question kind of is, well, I mean, you can have a discussion about it, but the question is, do we want to stay at that $200? Do we want to think about raising it? If we raise it, we do have to find sponsors to cover that. Ideally we have a budget for the program now, but the understanding is that the board helps that budget equal out every year. So any discussion on that topic?
Well, I think we should raise it. That's not, $200 isn't much. I mean, we could ask them and say, okay, but you're still only gonna get $200.
And that's kind of the point of if you did ask, it's like,
I don't think we should ask.
I don't think the asking at this point is probably
I
the way to
agree,
go.
because, bands are gonna start at $600.
Yeah,
Yeah, you might get a duo that'll do less, and the challenge here is that a lot of people want bands to play for their fundraisers. They want bands to play free all the time. And that is hard for bands, but in this case, for what it is, this is not the Albany Music in the Park where
right.
we have Dixie
Yeah.
Chicks or the Chicks now come. So if we were to raise it maybe a little bit, but if we have to start getting sponsors, I think it is more of an opportunity for them to play and contribute to the community and to the Philomath Music Department, School Music Department. That's,
have sponsors now. I think Pioneer is Pioneer the biggest one?
Yeah, so we have sponsors. I believe last year it was Pioneer, Figaro's. Forgetting the other two have been sponsors for a long time. I'd have to look it up. We have them listed on the website, but it's what we have been doing is having Pioneer has been the series full sponsor, and then we've had 3 additional sponsors at $200, and that covered the So if we raised it to 250, say, then we're gonna have to, make up the additional, that would be two additional sponsors.
Sponsor Pioneer, what do they put in?
They've been putting in $1,000 and that went up, I think 2 years ago. I think they were putting in like 800 before, and that went up a couple of years ago. So they already did raise their sponsorship.
And so does that go to the bands, to paying for the bands, or where?
Well, it goes back as it's essentially a donation to the city for the program, essentially. The city is paying the bands at this point. We have a budget.
So what is our, I know the budget process is probably starting soon, but what is for 2023, what was our budget for music in the park?
I believe it was $1,800, so the 1,600 covered the bands, and then we had an additional two for incidentals, or if our banner ripped, or something like that.
So we had 1,800 there, we had 1,000 from Pioneer, and then you're not sure.
No, the 1,000 is covering that. So essentially, the program is supposed to be a break-even program. So it's not additional money. Pioneer's money is not intended to be additional. It's intended to come back into that fund.
So it's budgeted for $1,800, and you're saying that $1,000 from Pioneer just goes into the general fund?
Yes.
If we wanted to raise it to 250, even that's not a lot.
Yeah,
It's a token.
Right.
How would we go about getting another sponsor to cover that 50?
You
every
all
year?
would
We need to find
go
one.
talk to people that you know and see who's interested, essentially. So what we have been doing is we've had enough sponsors. This last year we were down a sponsor, but Figaro's came on as a sponsor last year. And I think that was Tyler that got that. Thank you. And so essentially that would happen. So we would just be like down if you raise it 250, we need two additional sponsors. We need our existing sponsors to say, yes, we're good again to do it. And then you need two additional sponsors.
Right, that's the tricky part. If you start upping how much we're paying without changing the budget, but we're paying on sponsors, you're gonna have to kind of bank that all of them stick around for the next year and.
Right.
Otherwise.
And, the city can cover, like if something happens and we just don't get one, we do have a budget now, where in the past it was not done that way. Now we have a budget, but the expectation on me as the staff person is to get that even. So that's just what we're really trying to do. So it would be if you raise it to 250, it would be looking for two additional sponsors if the other sponsors all stayed. Or, I can also ask Pioneer if they're interested in coming up a little bit. I mean, we have options, but
So
What
there's
about-
how many dates? How many dates are? So we need $400 more,
right.
if we up it to 250.
250 is not that big of a bump.
No.
They
It
do a
is.
bunch of work to get more sponsorship.
At 50, I think you'd still get people.
That's like a goal for 2025.
Yeah.
At least.
And so the other question is then, if I understand it correctly, the city budgets that money, but then they get that money in. So is the city willing to put any more money towards this?
At this point, my understanding is no, that it needs to be a break-even program.
I like that idea. Maybe we could set that as a goal to take it up to 300 in 2025, and we could start working now toward that.
Right. Well, Chelsea and I were talking before the meeting started about like creating a group within the park advisory board that kind of owns the Music in the Park series. And I think if we worked on developing that in 2024, when 2025 comes around, maybe they'll have strong enough legs underneath them to be able to like, oh, I know this sponsor, we got them right away, kind of planning, kind of snowballing into it. And I'd be down to be part of that group if anyone else wants to join me. Tyler?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sustainable growth.
Kind of up my alley. I'd be in on that, but I have a hard time asking people for,
Well, everyone has their forte, and I mean, it really is about coming together and utilizing your
I'm
connections.
willing
and
to do it
skills.
if we have a plan, we together and have a plan and know what we're gonna do, then I'm okay with doing it.
Okay, so looking at leaving it at 200 for this year, but trying to raise it to 300 for the next year. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think
And
next year being 25, not
Right, right. Yes,
so,
sorry, the next.
yeah, let's say we raise it to 300 for 25. If we go to a business and say, you sponsor us for $300 and we can, like, you'll be the sponsor of this particular day? Or how,
A couple years ago, I did make sort of a sponsorship, like here's what you would get. We really have just gone more toward, we put you on the page, we advertise where we can. Pioneer doesn't have an issue with that. They're the primary sponsor and I always advertise them as the series sponsor. So that's really more what people are getting out of it, is just that they are a sponsor and it is a really good local event, and it's obviously supporting the Philomath Performing Arts Benefit Fund. And so we haven't really had an issue with it. It's not, it's just, usually it's just pre-planning. So most companies probably can find a few $100s, or even if you had one that could only do 150 and you put together two and they could each do 150, they just need to know ahead of time. Usually they need to know ahead of time, because a lot of them do have budget and they have a certain amount of money that they can put toward things like this. And if you hit them when they've already done that, they can't do it. But if they know it's coming up, it could help. So thinking about what Rose was saying, to look at, we're going to be trying to up this for 2025, it gives you the ability to try to reach out to people really early and say, we'd like to know if you would be willing to commit. We're just reaching out to, see what, if you can dog ear that money for that program. And we can get it early.
2024, maybe you can go like plan ahead for 2025.
Right. And we can get it early in so after July 1st is the 2024-25 fiscal year. And some of it does, it carries over. We have a whole carryover because music in the parks in the middle of the fiscal year, but we can, definitely look at that.
Web page, flyers, banner, and announced at the events.
Yeah, and we can talk about that later. I think we had a little program before, and we can bring that back and see what, you all think is a good.
well, and the reason I ask that is that if I'm gonna go to some business and ask them for money, I gotta be able to say, this is what you're
Yeah,
gonna get.
and we've had that in the past. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanna be clear on that. I guess the other thing would be then with this budget cycle, then can we, would it be this coming year's budget cycle? Because you're on January or July 1, right? So would that be the year that we would increase it to 300?
Mhm.
Okay, so can we do that with the thought that we would somehow get sponsorships so that we have the right amount of money
Mhm.
in there?
Any other discussion? Okay. It's like saying, sponsorship, we kind of just talked already about that, so I don't think we need to do that. I will reach out to the existing sponsors and then I'll let you all know if it doesn't seem like we're covering things and if we need help. Volunteers for performances, we've had lots of discussions about whether to try to find other volunteers for the performances or not. Last year, I think you all did a great job. We've realized we don't need everyone on the park board to be at these events. I think we've got a process, things are clearer. That's helped a lot. And so just getting input on how you all are feeling about that and covering the 8 events during the summer. I realize we are down a couple members and we could have new members next year, but just getting a little bit of feedback on that, on how you're all feeling about that. Thanks.
The music program people,
that we were kind of talking about having them be there as well.
Yeah, I did. So I did reach out to the board of the Philomath Performing Art Benefit Fund, and I'm not sure I worded it correctly, so I have an email going back and forth, but I did ask if potentially they would want to kind of take on one of the concerts, so that they could be the volunteers that are there, talk about what their program and what the donations are going toward. I think there's a potential there. If they could organize that, I think they'd potentially be one of the dates. And then I think they did come to the first one with the school bands
I
and
was gonna
talk
say
there.
that's the one they came to.
Yeah.
I've already reached out to the schools and, I can't remember if they've both gotten back,
Okay.
but the middle school has.
The middle school did.
Yeah. So, and I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
I bet we could also reach out to Woodfell and Troop 161, get the Boy Scouts there too. They need volunteer hours for merit badges or
Okay.
advancements.
Well, yeah, we can talk more about that as we're getting closer, but just kind of keep an idea. It's not like we need we don't need to inundate the events with volunteers. But that being said, if there is something that we can do to get people participating and taking a little bit of the load off, even just if you had a couple, youth who wanted to walk around with the jug, that's great. You could be there kind of overseeing the whole thing, So yes, I think those are good ideas. So we'll bring that up again as we're closer. Okay, so donation collection. This has been a hot topic over the years, but just wanted to know how people felt about how that process went last year. If you had feedback about it, if you had strong feelings one way or another on how that actual physical collection is going, the handoff is going. How's that going for everyone?
We taken some good money. Some people stick 20 in there, 5.
Yeah.
It's a lot more handy that the jug is right there and we can access it. We
Yeah.
don't have to wait for city staff
Okay.
to rely
That's
on.
good.
It's super visible, so.
And
when you walk
yeah,
around,
yeah, the only other thing I'd say is maybe put the QR code really big on it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a thing that I don't have any cash with me. Hey, got a deal for you.
I don't know if we can design or decorate the jug a little bit better, but that
Mhm.
flappy piece of paper
Oh,
Yeah.
in the way,
Yeah.
and if it was on the jug, or if you have another person with you, you got the jug and they have the, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a laminated QR reader thing. I hate it. Flaps in the wind.
I never want to pull the money out. I have not done that.
Oh,
yet.
that's
I
pretty
never,
fun.
hope I never have to do that.
Definitely done that.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so that went well. Good to know. Looks like on the back page are third
Which one?
Thursday. One of May.
Sunday.
Oh, nice. Third Thursday and last Sunday of the month. So it's really, I guess, more of an FYI. That's how the dates came out.
And keeping the 6 to 8 time for all of that.
Yeah, I did. I think we had some bands who maybe didn't play as bands some of them play for the whole time, some of them don't. I think it might be, especially with what we're paying, it might be more prudent to let them know playing until 7:30 or 8 range is a good range, because especially for bands that only have a few members, 2 hours is a very long time, even though they take a little break in between. It's a long time. And so I don't hold it against them if they do not go all the way until the 8 o'clock hour. We are not paying them $2,000 to stay until the 8 o'clock hour, right? So I think maybe just having a little bit of flexibility, but yeah, starting at 6, just being mindful that they might not all play right up until 8. And I think last year there were several that didn't go all the way up until, but they can gauge what's going on there. Also,
Roomba band, they would have stayed there all night.
see, and that's a thing.
And had lights.
Sure. Yeah, so yes, I think, people a little expression.
Missed that one.
Yeah. Okay, and then anything else at this point in the planning that seems like a good idea to talk about?
Tyler, I know I told you.
Yeah.
you wanted to group the champion,
No, that's a good idea.
but I didn't, is that
Yeah, I would do that.
us three or anyone else wants to?
She wasn't over here. Yeah.
Oh, it's, you know what, I can put it right back myself.
Cool. I'll do it. Okay.
No,
Are you doing it?
I don't need to.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait.
Probably, maybe like 3 of you.
I think 3 is a good number.
Or we don't, then you avoid if you're.
I don't need
talking
more.
about it before.
Yeah.
Okay, so there may be, it may be like an additional meeting time or may just be more like helping to come up with ideas and or taking on an additional task, like designing something or.
So we could come up with a letter, a sponsored letter with the.
Yeah, things
logo
like
on
that.
it, so it looks
Right.
official.
Would you be okay with sending us 3 an email so we all have each other's email addresses and then also kind of this is what we're doing, kind of set the tone?
Yep.
And would you want to be looped in on any communication that we do, or is that not necessary?
Make sure we don't go rogue on you.
Or just thinking, like, do we have to like plan in between the meetings and then report at a meeting or?
Let me. I'll do that full best work, but yeah, I think it will be helpful to just kind of help with some of the planning. Rosa's done quite a bit of it to help me as staff, like trying to get the band list together, trying to let's get those flyers out there. We need more bands, so it'll be helpful to Rose to have like some additional people who can kind of help at least bounce ideas off in between.
You're super down for the community, so.
Great, yeah, okay. That's done for the main business. What's the next agenda item?
Music in the park?
Debrief, you're on the minutes.
Oh. Yeah, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Park project update.
Yes. I did miss the. Cochrane Park is a little on hold right now. I think we're waiting on electricity to be brought to the site. The memorial itself, we have an RFP out for the memorial. I think it closes the 16th of December. So we're just waiting to get those back so that we can select a vendor to go with to build the memorial that you've all talked about and the council has approved. There's playground equipment going in, so the city staff is putting playground equipment in. We have a relatively new hire who worked for a park department for a long time. So he is very skilled in putting play equipment in, which is great for us. So he's been out there kind of spearheading that project. It's going well.
But it's not open to the public, right?
The
The playground equipment?
no,
Not yet.
no.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Now, the city council was discussing the material.
Mhm.
Was a decision made on that?
So the way that they left it was that they would leave it to staff to kind of reach out to a couple of cities and make a determination. So the public works director did reach out, I think, to Eugene, maybe Corvallis, and chose the turf ADA surface, fall protection surface. So that's what's been ordered. They're prepping for that. There's been additional discussion since then. The way that it is now is this is the first park in Philomath that is getting such a surface. So thumbs up on that. Let's do that. We'll see how that goes. And if we are going to put this in another park, we'll stop at that time, have a discussion, do some research on pros and cons. But it was already ordered, and there's a lot of work that goes into prepping and what you put underneath it. So that work has already been done. So it's coming. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be installed, but yeah. So it's exciting to have that type of a play surface in one of our parks. Any questions about that?
I'm going to ask a question, but I probably have to start by saying, my son lives on the west side of the park. So I'm asking about the fencing. what's the situation with the fencing?
There's been discussions. He's reached out to
Right,
staff.
he's talked to
Mhm.
Chris, he's talked to
Mhm.
Gary, he's talked to
Yeah.
Kevin, but nobody's gotten back to him.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I have not been involved in
I-
not getting back to you,
He
so.
said, they said they were getting back to me and they haven't, so.
Okay,
I
well,
said,
I'll check in on
I
it, but
said, I'll ask and see.
Mhm. I
So,
think really it's just that the fencing is not on the immediate horizon, so it's probably just not being, they're not there in the project yet, so I think it's probably that they don't have information yet on what that's going to look like from the contractor.
okay, well, I had just asked him and he said, well, I don't know, they haven't called me back. So,
All right,
I was just wondering about that.
yeah, I can check in on that. Okay, any other questions on Cochrane Park?
Do we know when it'll be done? Sorry.
You know, I've asked that question several times because we're kind of waiting on some other entities. We don't. Our hope is, what I'm hearing is hopefully by April. What I'm really hoping for is by Memorial Day. It would be really, really great if we had it
Yeah.
all in, playgrounds in, everything's good. We feel like we have a park that people can come to by then. So that's kind of what that's my personal deadline for feeling like that needs to get done. But yeah, I think spring.
The RFP on the memorial,
Mhm.
are we specific on that as far as what we want? Or is it give us an idea?
Yeah, it's a little general, so that's why we did an RFP instead of like an invitation to bid or just requesting quotes. It was that we do want, we don't have an actual drawing of specifics. We have generals, our designer, our park designer has general sizing for the columns, and then we have the input that we've had. So yes, we're kind of asking a company to work with us so we can tell you what we want on it, what our discussions have been. The first quote that we got had extremely varying prices for the granite color. So we've also asked for 2 different colors of granite pricing. I didn't know if that was just that specific vendor doesn't have a resource for black granite, but their black granite was like twice as much money as the dark gray granite. So that was interesting. Yeah, so that's also moving forward. And another thing to note is that I did apply for a grant extension with OPRD. I keep in really good contact with our grant coordinator, and we decided that was like the cleanest option at this point, rather than them just saying, yes, you're doing well, keeping in touch. So we just officially did an extension through, I think it's through the end of May. So nice. Yeah. Okay, skate park design, I don't have a lot to report there. I have pinged the company Grindline back. They were waiting on the feasibility report that they were writing for us on the like locations and feasibility. We do have that preliminary design, but I'd like to get it all back before we push that back out. Just to make sure that they don't have anything additional that they're putting on. We just have that draft at this point. So I have written them back to ask them how that's going. But the last I heard from them is that they were working on getting it finished up. And so that's where we are with that. Further than last time we talked about it.
Tell them to come down this week to see how high the water
Yeah,
is.
come down and. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about skate park design or the skate park? So park sign standards, I just put this under updates because we are going to be working on trying to get the park board structure a little back aligned with how it functions in the code and how it's supposed to function, which is that this board reports kind of to the Public Works Committee, which is made up of city councilors, 3 city councilors. And so we have pushed the park sign standard question to that board or that committee to ask if they, as a committee, believe that this is a valuable thing for our park advisory board to spend time on, for staff to spend time on. I don't know what they'll say. It's hard to say. I would think maybe they would say yes. That sounds like a good thing, but we're trying to kind of get that back so they have it on their agenda and they know a little bit more about what the park board is working on. And so I think they have a meeting in February and we should be able to get that discussion on that agenda. And then I have a feeling it's going to come back to your agenda. So that's just kind of an update on where that is at.
I was wondering, because we, remember last meeting, we had a motion to recommend Public Works continue to determine park signage, so did they see that, or did?
You're kicking it back to us.
Well, I think what we said was until parks sign standards were made. And I think we'd all talked about this committee recommending park sign standards, but at this point, we would like the council to
It's kind of back and
to acknowledge it. Well, it is a project and we as staff have to be mindful of the strategic plan and what's on the strategic plan. Does the council want us working on these things? So we just pushed it to them to kind of decide if that's something that they think we should be doing now or tabling until a later date. I have no doubt that at some point it's going to come up, regardless of what they say, it just, there'll be a need for it. But yeah, we'll take that discussion to them, have that conversation, see what they say. Okay. And now we're on board member updates. If anyone, updates or stuff like how that is not on the agenda that is park related.
Well, I keep seeing in the paper, or I guess, I shouldn't say paper, online, that there are 2 openings.
Mhm.
So is that still true?
Yes, Rose's term is up and Dale's term is up at
Are
the
you
end of
reapplying?
December.
I am gonna reapply as long as there's a spot that's left after anyone else who wants to apply. So if it fills up, then I'm gonna give up my spot. I want someone else to have an opportunity.
When would that start?
January.
So if you aren't able to get the spot back, we
No,
will need
then
a
you-
person for the.
Well, I mean, I could still volunteer.
A community.
A community member.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll help you
I
guys out.
think that'll be fine if Rose was.
Now, what about Dale?
I don't know if Dale is intending to reapply or not. I've not heard.
After 3 years, then, do you apply for a second term only if nobody else in the community goes for the position?
No, you can apply. So I think the code says that you can be appointed to 3 consecutive terms. There's been the question comes up, so well, how's Dale been on so long, or Lindy? And it's because when, at the end of those terms, there were not enough applicants to fill the positions.
Mhm.
So they chose to reappoint Dale and Lindy, same thing. So Lindy, last time when Lindy was reappointed, it was because there was not anyone else
Right.
to appoint after other people had been appointed.
But, so how long have you been on?
One,
3 years?
Oh,
one term, I think.
One term,
Yeah, one term.
the end of my first term.
Okay, but then you don't just automatically get appointed if you want to do it. Other people still have to.
Yeah,
right.
And I have to
If the
apply.
term is
Okay.
up, yes.
No matter how many
apply.
times you've been serving.
You
Okay.
reapply. Mhm.
But that's a decision that the city council makes, or? is it-
Yeah, I believe I think the way that your code is the mayor. I think the mayor makes the selection and then the council kind of sanctions that, essentially doesn't like vote yes or no, but says, looks like you did a good job looking through those applications. But I'm not 100%, 'cause some of the committees are a little bit different the way they're structured, but I think that's the way the park board is. Yeah, so we'll see. So what that means for the January meeting is that we will have, Rose will actually not be a member at the January meeting, and Dale will not be a member if Dale is also reapplied and wants to come back. They will not be members. We hope that they will come, and we hope that we have a quorum, and I'm going to talk about a little bit something else. On 2 official members, because the way that our meetings are scheduled now is that the council meeting happens after the park board meeting in January. So we'll have every year, if we continue to, keep our meetings here, it will be, we're kind of hanging out, waiting for that. But hopefully anyone who has applied will just come to that meeting, but we cannot count them as part of the quorum. So, yeah. Any other questions about that?
And will we have our meeting on 2nd of January?
Yes, it is scheduled for the
I
2nd.
may not be here.
Okay, just let me know. I'll reach out with an agenda, and if for some reason we all say we cannot make a quorum, we can look at scheduling it later in the month. So,
I know I won't be.
okay, so I'll reach out and see where we all lay with other members and what we think we'll have to do for that. So the other thing I wanted to mention is in January, that is typically been the meeting, sometimes February, but I think January, that we talk about the park projects in the park master plan, where we're at with those, what you want to potentially recommend to the council. It'll be to the Public Works Committee for strategic planning. They'll be looking at their strategic plan. For those of you that don't know what that is in the council context, the council has a strategic plan document that they put projects and goals for council and a lot of staff to move forward in the upcoming years. It is a 3-year plan, but they do look at it usually once a year and make little changes as they need to. So that will be really important that we do have a quorum so that we can have that meeting, vote on what to update in that document. And if you all could, between now and then, as you're having holidays and doing all the things, try to check in with the park master plan. There is a chart in there, so if you can't look through the whole plan again, I get it, but there is a chart in there for projects that some of which have been completed, so you'll see some of them that's been completed. But that's basically what I'll bring is that chart and where we're at in chipping away at those projects and or any, other things. You have had other things that have come up. Sometimes we've had the discussion about trying to kind of wait this plan out a little bit and let it settle. But if you have other things you want to discuss that have been on your list of projects that are not in the master plan, but that you think are important, bring those forward. Let's have a discussion so we can get a consensus on sharing those with the.
And that has to be discussed in the January meeting. Can't wait till the February meeting where we have.
We will see,
appointed committee
and
members.
this is kind of part of the discussion is if there doesn't seem like we have, if that doesn't seem like it's going to work, we may want to push that January meeting out so that we do have appointed members. So this is the first year that this has happened because we had our meetings much later in the month before. So we may just want to have a discussion about that and see, but when I'll reach out to all of you and kind of check in on what you all think would be the best option for that.
Well, I'll just update you on the unofficial activities going on. First, you have little flyers for the Christmas sing-along this Saturday, so it should be fun.
You want to say that out loud for who's watching?
Yeah, it's a Philomath Christmas sing-along at the Grange this Saturday at 7 p.m. And it is a dessert potluck. And we're just going to be singing sacred and secular songs, anything from Frosty the Snowman to First Noel. And anyway, it should be a lot of fun. And I wanted to update you about the dances that we're having. There's a new gal who's kind of climbed on board, and she is the activities director at Stony Brook. And so she came to one of the dances, and anyway, she got these great ideas. She wants to start teaching with the DJ once a week. So I'm going to get an approval probably from the Grange tomorrow night. So she has this huge. So the first dance that she advertised, which was 2 dances ago, over 70 people came.
Wow.
And then the last dance, over 50 people came. And there was another dance going on that night. So she's really excited. She's an awesome teacher. Just wanted to let you know that the dances are exploding, and we may start doing once a week so people can actually have, do better at learning the steps and stuff. So things are going good. Is there anything else? Did you have anything you wanted? Okay.
I don't know if it's park related, but take your city survey for the
It is park
30th.
related.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do your survey.
Survey.
End of the month, we have to have that.
In the
Yeah.
month. Yep.
Share the community survey on your social media, even your own account has people I'm sure that would be interested in taking it. So get the word out. We have flyers too, so you can come into City Hall that QR codes on them, so if you.
Will
have
those
to write
survey
up-
results be discussed in any kind of forum?
Yes, they'll be at the council meeting.
I think
We'll trying to take them to the January meeting, but if we don't have enough time to get them pulled together, it'll be the February meeting. Okay, is there anything, do we have to have can I just end it? Well,
Is everyone?
do we have to have a motion to end?
No.
We're not that formal.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we are officially